Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Mother You Know, and I am super excited for this episode. We get to talk to one of my favorite people on the planet. And yes, I've been practicing this intro all day long, like everywhere I went today. I was like, how am I going to introduce her? So we are going to talk today to one of my very best friends. She is my purple person. She is a person who came into my life randomly one day on a Sunday or something, and she's never left, and that's how I prefer it. This is Shayne Rose.
I'm Shayne.
Hi. So I'm super excited to have Shayne as our guest to talk about her story, or whatever it is, and I kind of think, Shayne, I've been trying to figure out how long we've known each other, and I think it's probably 12 years now. I think it was 2012 or 13. I think that we met. I actually think I have a Christmas one from you from 2012, so it would have been at least that year. At least that, okay. Yeah. So yeah, randomly at church we met, and I remember seeing you down the hallway. I would talk to you at a retreat, and there you were. And the next thing I know, you were one of my favorite people, and like I never wanted to let you go, and I never will. You're stuck with me. I was about to say the same thing. I was like, you can't get rid of me. It's fine. Yes. So we're super excited to have you here to come and talk about your story as a woman, a mother, wherever the conversation goes. And so let's just kind of kick off just really quick with just kind of tell us about what it was like for you growing up. Where did you grow up? What was your family life like? And we'll see what. Well, I grew up in Channelview, which back then it was a pretty rural kind of. I feel like no pastures than the place that it's become now. I actually get embarrassed when I go over there, knowing that's where I grew up, because it's not the same place that was when I grew up. But
They never are.
I know it's crazy, but I guess my parents were we were middle class. My dad worked at the steel mill, which a lot of people that we grew up with, their families worked at the steel mill that was there, and very normal kind of family. I mean, I had really great parents. We went through some hard times that I didn't even realize now until now that we actually went through them, because they were very consistent. Our upbringing, very strict, which was probably a good thing because I probably needed it a little bit later, but it was a very just kind of normal family. I have a younger brother, and my mom owned a beauty shop when I was growing up, and we had my dad was electrocuted at work at one point in time, so we kind of went through a weird time right when my brother was born, where my dad was hurt for a while, but he came back, and it was just kind of a normal childhood. It was normal. I don't have anything more to say than that. It was, I had good parents, and they went to work every day and taught us to work for what we have. And that's kind of the stuff that I was instilled with as a child. So that's about it.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the things you remember most about your mother? Like, what are some of the good things, like growing up? What do you remember about her? Does she do traditions, or set certain standards, or things that influenced you, or that you remember fondly?
Well, again, she had a beauty shop, so I went there when I left school every day. I rode the bus there, or when I could drive or whatever. I went there after school. So I remember her being a very social person, she was very popular because, she owned this beauty shop, and every woman came in there, and she knew.
Where was it? Was it in Channelview?
Huh?
Was it in Channelview?
Yeah.
Or was it in North Shore? What was it called?
It was in Channelview. It was right on Wood Forest.
Yeah.
So,
what was it called? Remember?
The Cut Above, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, I'm not
that
sure.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
So
okay.
Can't remember if
that sounds familiar.
Before she had it, but
she might have cut my hair before.
Yeah.
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 So,
okay. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Well, that's a thing. She wasn't a hairdresser.
Oh, okay.
Back then, you could just go to be a shampoo specialist, which is basically you did all the stuff, like, that passed you off. You didn't cut hair, you didn't roll perms, but she could put solution on it. Anyway, so she pretty much had a little area where she did eyebrows and dyed eyelashes, and she did everything but cut and, stuff like that, color. So I remember her being that way. My parents were very social. They were young parents, and my mom got pregnant with me when she was a senior in high school, and my parents got married pretty much immediately, and then he was drafted and left shortly after that. So I did not see him until I was 4 months old.
Okay.
And me and my mother picked up, she was 18, and took me, and we moved to Germany for 2.5 years.
Oh,
So,
Wow.
because my dad did moved in the services. So, I can't imagine, because I hear that she led a very sheltered life. My grandmother was very religious, very protective, and I can't imagine even me at that point, like, picking up and move. But I remember them being very social, having a lot of friends. Like I said, they were young. So I think I probably got a lot of I'm pretty much an extrovert type person. I feel like I probably got that from him. So
yeah.
that's a big thing. Tradition, my mother never. My grandmother taught me everything, like how to put stuff out and make things look pretty and decorate for Christmas and stuff like that. My mother does not have any of that whatsoever in her body. She's like, here's a paper plate, here's some packs of cheese. You can unwrap them on a sandwich yourself. That is not me. I'm like, if it doesn't look pretty, you can't eat it.
Yes, you know the hostess. I love.
Yeah.
And she are always so welcoming. I think it's just lovely
Well, thank you.
all the time.
I
Like,
think
over
that's
there, like, when you go over there to hang out with Saturday, and it's Sunday, a whole spread. It's like Thanksgiving, and it's just Saturday. It's
you
just
have to
Saturday.
get out.
I mean, we appreciate it.
Yes, so that's kind of what I remember. We always had a lot of people around and stuff like that. So I probably got that from them.
Let's talk a little bit. Like, as you gotten older, you went to high school and did all that stuff. When did you? I guess this is about, like, you at Lonnie and got married and stuff like that. Or you don't have to, I'm say this, and you're.
I don't care.
fast forward. Was there anything in the middle? Is there anything in the middle? Listen, after last week and Melissa and Judy, Missy's mom has been through the ringer and she dropped everything. Everybody, everything, does not care. And I was just like, oh, I think we're going to have to edit this out.
As long as are you okay to talk about this? Is somebody data out there?
Yes.
Okay, right. Like, we doing
Okay.
this. First name, last name, social security number. We put it out
We're
there.
gonna give it all out.
She doesn't care. So, like, well, I mean, let's see, growing up, so you had a really young mom.
I did.
So do you think that you grew up alongside of her? Because that's what I keep saying with my kids is, sorry, you grew up with me. I did 19.
I mean, I think I did. My dad, the way that he grew up, his dad was like raised on a farm kind of thing and moved to the city and worked at the steel mill. So my dad was raised by a man that was very tough, very, you at 14, you get a job.
Yeah.
So I feel like that my dad was kind of there, which is funny that I just said that, and it's kind of bringing stuff up about what we're going through right now. But
Yeah.
I believe that he probably raised her a little bit because he had definitely lived a more do-it-yourself kind of life. And I kind of feel like my mom, even though I said she's sheltered, I think she was a little bit of a princess growing up because of that, just kind of the bubble that she was in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that she probably grew up with me, but I feel like she kind of had my dad there that had already kind of lived a life of working and doing, adult.
Is there an age gap between them?
There's not. I mean, it's,
are they the same age?
2 years. Yeah, they're like a year and a half apart, so not a big one, but
yeah,
yeah,
but just his life experience.
Yes, and like my dad's. I mean, I think she had boyfriends and stuff, but I think my dad was he was a little more around the block than she was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think that he just kind of lived a little life before they got together. So
Yeah.
she was kind of pulled into that. So,
Yeah.
what is your favorite childhood memory? Like with your mom or, with your dad, whatever, or another woman, and if you have an awesome aunt or something like that. What's your favorite childhood memory?
It's hard. I really loved going to my grandpa's where like the whole family was together. Me and my grandfather were very close. As I mentioned before, he was very hard. He had 3 boys. I feel like the spankings they got would be considered abusive these days.
Yeah.
But, it was very much like you don't spoil them and stuff like that. So I did really love going up there. I did not have a relationship my entire life with my dad's mother. So going up there and him finding the woman that he ended up marrying and when he passed that he was with that whole time, she kind of became my grandmother. So I always loved when we were always up there. And my grandmother was not big on, I guess, all of my uncles' wives. It's kind of strange, but I was the only girl. Like she had all boys, and then all of the boys had all boys except for my mom and dad, and there was me. So there's 5 boys and me. And then all of her sons were boys. So I don't think that she quite knew how to take a girl. I feel like it was like one of those things that she just didn't know. But that's my grandfather kind of got with Belinda, who was, my grandmother. I loved going up there and having everybody together. And I always wanted a huge family. Like I watch y'all's Christmases. I'm so jealous.
Oh.
Like I'm super jealous of y'all's Christmases. So I always
You can come.
That's like you want us to adopt you because I am all about adopting people.
You can adopt me. I can't leave my parents, but you can adopt me.
It's fine.
No.
I love James. I mean, I'm Sarah, but I love James. Yeah, bring James.
So anyway, so I always liked that because it was just, it always seemed like to me that was something that I watched on TV or loved or whatever when there was just a big group of people. So that's kind of like my favorite things and something that just resonated with me because it's different times, obviously. But I would go to my grandfather's for 2 or 3 weeks in the summer, and I was like 9 years old, and my mom and dad would put me on a Greyhound bus, and they would meet me up there. I mean, like 9 years old. Like now, I would be like, "What are you doing? I'm calling GPS on you." Like seriously. But yeah, it was like just a normal thing. Like there were kids on the bus, and you checked them in with the bus driver and drove me up there. So yeah,
Where was their house at?
Crockett, Love Lady. So, I mean, it was out half drive, It's not time to get kidnapped and somebody will win me, but I was okay.
You made it. You survived.
I survived. It made me a better person.
Yes.
Stronger.
But I had not thought about that forever. Like, they just put me on the Greyhound and they felt,
You're fine.
yeah.
It's the ultimate. You're fine.
We're going to put you in the hands of these people we've never met before.
And we're going to trust you with a stranger sitting next to you that's going to twitch and eat his face,
Right. So,
Probably methods.
Probably. I don't know
That's
if we even had dust back then. It would probably be like angel dust or something. I'm old. They didn't have that stuff back then.
Oh, Lord.
Well, that's awesome.
Plus, Jenny and Sarah. So, yeah, let's talk about, like, you graduate high school. What were you going to do? Like, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, that was not on the questions.
No. So, I mean, honestly, growing up and getting to probably high school, maybe even through 9th grade, I was totally going to be a teacher. Like, I loved teaching. My brother, when he went to kindergarten, he was way ahead of everything because I like to play school and I actually made him wipe work. So he knew all the stuff that other people didn't know. But then when I got to high school, I just cared about boys. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I thought about going to college, but I mean, I don't know. It just in high school, I went out for drill team.
and I had a knee injury. They wouldn't clear me for it. So I immediately, when I got into drill team, the drill instructor loved me. So I became like the manager.
Mhm.
And that's when I could organize and I could be very aggressively helpful to other people. That's my new thing. I'm not lossy. I'm aggressively helpful.
Feeling that, by the way.
Yeah, that's for a t-shirt.
Hey, hold on.
Shut up. You have to talk with that on it. It's Shayne next time for those interested. I will leave it on TikTok and so
Oh,
it's hard to
stop.
say.
Can you read
You know.
it? It's very
What is-
light because I didn't want it to be obvious
I'll
whenever.
go to the right. There you go. I'm not bossy. I'm aggressively
Aggressively
helpful. Yes.
helpful.
I would love that when I joined your TikTok so that you can go wild with tumblers. Yes.
That's definitely my new saying. I'm
It is,
aggressively
it's
helpful.
amazing, and you know it's true. So anyway, so honestly, once I became like the manager, I kind of felt my calling. Like I kind of felt like I like things to be in order, and when you have 60 girls that you have to make sure you have permission slips for, whatever it might be. That was my deal. So did that for a while. And then I actually started taking cosmetology in school, and I went through, I probably was about 400 hours short. My mom had a beauty shop, so I was going to go out for that. And I thought, I am never going to do this. This is like not enough money for all the work that you have to do. So, I put all that time into it. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So immediately out of high school, my aunt worked at a law firm and they needed a receptionist. And I started working as a receptionist, making $4 an hour. And it was like the best thing I ever did. I started learning everything I could. And that's where I am now.
You're a paralegal, like
Yeah.
by definition, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're doing that, and you love what you do.
I love what I do. I love it. Yes, it's.
What does a paralegal do? It's not a lawyer, but it's like a mini lawyer.
You do everything, and they get all the credit for it.
Sounds about right. Yes, there you
Every
go.
job ever.
Yes.
Well,
I just got as a legal secretary when I moved into like another firm, which is basically, it's a secretary. You're doing legal work, and you may have to do research and stuff. But when you move into kind of a paralegal role, it's much more writing pleadings or answering actual discovery, which is, stuff that's in lawsuits and stuff. So it's less, it's all administrative, don't get me wrong, but it's less like somebody handing you a piece of paper saying type this letter, and it's like, here, you work with the attorney and get the stuff done, And it's different from a law firm now. I'm in-house, which is so much better because, it's not long hours, and, you it's just different. Like the law firm, you can be leaving at 5:00 and they're like, no, we're working till 2 a.m. That's how it's big. And it's not like this here. Like, I'm like, hey, it's getting trafficy out there. It's 3 o'clock. He's like, hit the road. So much better.
Yeah.
And that's also it's like, I feel like one of the things we have in common, even though we would never really admit it to the outside world, Gordon knows he is pale.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's one of those good jobs because you know all the inside stuff.
So yes, there is. So I did work for a family. The lawyer that I used to work for when I first started. She had a very, very cool practice because it was family. So there was a lot of juicy stuff in there. There's less juicy stuff working for a company. If we're getting sued on some of our products or an accident or whatever, it's much less juicy in an in-house oil and gas firm.
Yeah.
Than it was working for the family law.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
So you started out doing like stuff in the legal field or whatever. Let's start about like when you met your first husband and kind of started on that venture. Where did you meet him?
A club. I was a party girl. I was a party girl back then. Yeah, so we met, and not a lot that I want to say. I didn't think there was anything I was not going to talk about, but that time of my life, probably not going to talk about it.
So let's move forward to the lovely mother stuff. So you get married, so intentionally. And
Yes.
How long were you before you decided you wanted to start a family and become a mom?
there was never a time that we decided we were going to start a family. It just started without.
It just started.
Yeah.
Without our permission.
And
So
how old were
so
you when you got pregnant?
I was 19.
19.
I was 19. We moved in together we dated for a while. I graduated high school, and honestly, I was going and meeting him and seeing him a lot, and I feel like my mom was losing control of what I was doing. I was 18. I did start college. So she called me one day, and my brother was like 13 or 14, and I started watching him when I was like 9 years old. She called and said, "Hey, we're going out tonight. You need to come home and babysit your brother." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not coming home." And she said, "Yeah, we need you to come watch him." And I said, "No, I have plans and I'm not coming home." And she basically said, "If you don't come home tonight, then you got to move out." And I was like, "Okay, I'll come get my stuff tomorrow." And I hung up the phone and I went and did my thing. So I think that was the first kind of juxtaposition in our relationship, because when I went home the next day, I went home and I packed my stuff, and she told me she was sorry, and I just said, "Look, you told me when I hit 18 I didn't have an apartment within a couple of weeks." And we moved in together, which was also a big no for my parents. Like, you don't live with people before you move. So that
You
was
were raised in the church, right? Like,
So I was raised for a while, and then pretty much when I hit about 12 or 13, like, my parents didn't make me go to church anymore. They drifted off and they didn't make me. And my grandmother constantly tried to get us to come back to church, but we just didn't. So I didn't choose to go to church. That wasn't what I wanted to do. So, but those values and things were still very, very deep in both my mother and my father. They were raised by very Christian parents. So that put a little rift there. So moved in, and I don't know, I guess it was a year later or so. I would say about a year. Found out I was pregnant and came and told my parents, which they were not happy. I wasn't married. So they kind of talked to us, and so we decided we'd get married. And so we got married in July. And then in September, started having problems, and I lost a baby. So that was that's when we found out I have an incompetent cervix. So any pregnancy that I have, if I don't have like a surgery during my pregnancy, then I will lose a baby. So kind of found that out. And my first husband, who we did not have a great marriage, but he was really good to me in this time. When I got home from the hospital, he and my brother had gone over and kind of taken me on the nursery we had set up, kind of just to not for it to be like right in my face kind of thing. But I mean, I was upset. I was 6.5 months. So when she was born,
that's rough.
yeah, she lived for 19 hours, and she wasn't developed enough for them. You know, they said she wouldn't make it. If she did it, she would have lots and lots of problems. So I am very good with death. I hate the way that sounds, and like, people get upset with me sometimes, but I feel like it's a natural thing that happens. And although I miss people that leave my life, I recognize it as something that's going to happen to all of us. So, I was upset for a little while, but, I don't know. Even though I wasn't going to church and I hadn't been in a while, I always kind of believe that what the Lord does for us, there's a reason for it. And, when I got pregnant again, I was super happy. And honestly, being that I only have one child, I would not have Zach if that wouldn't have happened. So I don't look at it as something that's a tragedy that happened to me or whatever. I got pregnant pretty quickly. I mean, that was in September of 91, and I had Zach in February of 93. So we tried immediately again. We did plan him. I mean, we said yes. We were ready. We were on that path. So when he came along, it's kind of like, it's what was supposed to happen, you know?
Yeah.
What was it like? I know this, like, our podcast is about mothers and daughters, and obviously Zach is your son. But
Mhm.
as a young mother, like, do you feel that what
what do you feel like, your mother as a mother, what did that pass on to you as a mother? Because you said that Sarah was a young mom and
Was.
you were a young mother. What do you remember most about that time as a young mother, as a first time mother? I mean, obviously you lost, the first baby,
Right.
but with that, what was that like for you as a young woman and trying to figure it
Well,
out?
I mean, I guess I hadn't been around a lot of other babies, but I did, like, my brother was my baby. Like, I kind of babied him. And so it was very life changing in the way that me and Rodney, obviously, like I said, we met at a club and got to know each other that way. So we were very social, like out young, like going out and doing stuff like that. So our life took a drastic change at that point. Obviously, we weren't like going out and doing that kind of stuff. And so I was there for it. It was what I wanted to do. So the other thing that changed is I grew up with two parents that really loved each other. And my dad was this really stand-up guy. And I found myself, which I did not pray about it. I did not ask for the Lord's direction in my first husband. And I ended up marrying a man that his family was not super loving, which my family, very loving, very, I love you. You tell people how you feel and get it out there. And so, and he was also Hispanic. And I felt like it was a very, very, big culture shift after we got into that area, because I'd watched my mom and dad be kind of equal their whole life, and my dad never made her be kind of subservient. And I think that my first husband, once I got into their dynamic, thought that I was going to be like his mother and his sisters, and I was like, oh, you got the wrong girl. That is not me. Now I will tell you right now, I
You're like, hi, we haven't met.
yeah, no. I cook for my husband every night, and I make his plate and I put it in front of him, and I love to do it. But never has he expected it from me and never asked me to serve him. And that's who I want to be, but that's not who I can be expected to be, because that did not sit well with me. First time I ever went to their house, they had like both his sisters and their husbands lived there with them. They had like a 8-person table, so all the men sat down. Well, they said, let's eat. And all the men sat down, and I sat down too. And the women were in the kitchen, and they were looking at me, and I was like, I said, I hope you don't expect this in our relationship. This is not going to happen. So that's kind of when the light bulb went off. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? And I don't blame them for it. I love his family, and that's the way it was. And that was not the way I was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's hard to shift into cultural differences. Like if you don't expect it and whatever. And the same thing with me is I grew up with Hispanic grandmother, white grandmother, but there was always that thing of love, and you want to be subservient. I like the same. I fix plates and cut potatoes and make, things.
yes.
But don't expect it.
Yeah.
The
I'm
minute
like,
you
that's just where my
You should be
rebel side
grateful.
comes out. I'm like, that's the last meal you're ever getting.
What's funny is there will be nights where it was really harder for Cody because 22 and he lived here and you do whatever. If I fix a plate and go sit down, they're just like, or he's just like staying in the kitchen. Are you mad at me?
What did I do? I don't understand.
It's like, no, sir. It's just make your plate.
Yeah.
So how long were you married first time?
Well, we were married for a long time. We weren't together for a long time.
Yeah.
So we were together like 4.5 years. And honestly, and again, I believe because of the way that he was raised and how he was in there, I was very emotionally abused in that relationship. When I came out of it, I was not the same person that I was when I went into it. And now that I know him, I know him better now, and I'm not in that situation, and he's apologized and stuff like that, but I don't think that he actually knew how to have a relationship. And I feel like that when he thought things were going bad and things like that he felt like doing the things that he did to me was going to make me stay. he told me, that there's not going to be anybody else out there that wants me, and I'm never going to be loved. And Lydia, calm down.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to back for my girl because I'm like,
So yeah, there was a lot of stuff like that. And honestly, I met my love of my life when he was 14. And
no,
so
we together. It was quick. Let's just put
no,
it
it was not together. But we met again years later when me and my first husband were having problems, and I had reconnected with his mom because I used to work with her. That's how I met him. So we worked together at a law firm, and she had reached out or whatever, and I adored her, and she was like, I really want to see you. So we kind of started hanging out. I had this new baby and was having all these problems with my husband, and so I went and met her, and we kind of started hanging out again a little bit. And when Dawn and I started like hanging out, or he was with us a lot, he was like, one day he was like, why do you put up with the stuff that he says to you like that? Why are you believing him? Why do you think that's going to happen? I mean, why do you think you're going to be alone? Or why do you think nobody's going to love you? And I'm like, I don't know if I think it, but it's just, he really like put things into perspective. He was very pivotal. And it wasn't even like we were dating or anything. He was just like, why are you listening? He was raised by a very strong mom, and he didn't like the way that he saw this man treating me. So I really think that he probably helped that. And he also pointed out to me one day, if my mom knew all this stuff. And I said, no. And he said, why not? And I said, because I don't want her to be disappointed in what I'm putting up with. And I really feel like she had always put this thing out, like, you love the person you're with and you treat them with respect. And I mean, that's how my parents have, kind of raised me. And the thought of her knowing what I was going through at that time, it scared me way worse than anything. And I didn't want to disappoint her or my dad,
Yeah. And was she around when during that 4 years with your son and involved there, Grand Molly stuff? Or
when I left him, Zach was only 6 months.
Oh, okay.
But no, it is very weird because I did not see this happening. And she pointed it out several times, and I didn't really think about it. But we were together or around my parents and stuff for about the first year, and he slowly started breaking me away from my family.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the year before that, I guess the Christmas before I got pregnant with Zach, I don't even think I spent Christmas with my parents.
Yeah.
And his family was Jehovah's Witness. They didn't even have holidays.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was a very weird thing that I look back and I'm like, how did I not know this was going on? But he had pretty much isolated me from my family, my friends. It was, you have to depend on me. So
yeah.
So yeah, when I went to my parents and told them I was leaving him, they were like, why? I mean, they thought everything was perfect because
you love to think that.
Yeah, I totally love to think that.
Were you scared to leave, or were you just done?
I don't know. I definitely was done because right before we found out that I was pregnant with Zach, I was about to leave. Like I had decided that I thought that's what was going to happen. I think I was more scared about the situation in my life. Like we lived in my grandmother's house. She had moved to the country. And it's just I think when people think about divorce, they just think about that relationship. And there's so much more to think about. There's like where you live and the money you have and where's your son going to be. And there were so many other things that kind of overwhelmed me that I was more scared about. I wasn't scared about leaving him. I didn't want to be divorced. I was like, I'd be the person in my family that was divorced or whatever. So, I feel like it was
very diverse people to be in your family, of course. We all have those people.
Yeah. Boldly. I won't name any names, but yes.
You could be that cousin.
Yes.
And you're not.
So, yeah, my parents were a little shocked,
Yeah.
So,
Were they supportive?
Very supportive.
When you figured it out or when you had decided, were they supportive?
Yes, and I think it's funny too that you asked that because as scared as I was, like my mom was super supportive. Not because, you're getting a divorce, but I think that she actually knew that this probably wasn't the best thing for me this whole time, and she kind of let me do my thing. But they were like, yeah, they were super supportive. And I kind of realized right then that the stuff that I went through, there was teenager stuff that seemed like it was monumental when I was in high school or whatever. I could probably have talked too much with my mom about, but I never did because I was scared. And I remember her telling me, you're like, you have a baby, you're grown, you live on your own, you've never asked me for anything. She's like, how do you think I felt? I was 17 and I had to go to your grandmother and tell her I was pregnant, not married, and, was just fixing to be a senior in high school. So I felt like at that time she saw me and misjudged her judgment of me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times I think we think that because I say this now is I think, like thinking about, Mariah, especially because I keep saying that we grew up together. So she and I, had the same, because we, had her at 19 and she was an experimental child, but that she still feels like I'm the mother of a 12-year-old. And, so she sees me as, oh, I can't tell her this, or I can't confide this because she's going to be a freak like she would be if I told her this. The same thing if I was 12.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, so it's like that thing you don't, I think you forget to grow up together, or forget to think, okay, I've matured.
Right.
Maybe she's mature, and maybe not. Like, maybe I overreact a lot. I know. So,
right.
To things.
And
but
maybe sometimes you're not really acting mature, so it's hard to see you in that way.
Yeah. So, but the same thing, like you think, oh, I probably could have told her that. Because
I definitely
like now, like right now, with everything that's going on in our life, nothing could shock me right now. I would just be like, all right, this is what we're doing. Okay.
You're like, bring it on.
Yeah, fine.
I'll tell you a funny story about the support of my parents during this time. So I had moved in with one of my girlfriends. I was giving him time to find some place to live. His parents were much less supportive of anything. So he was still at my grandmother's house, and I moved in with my friend, and he was pissed one night. He wanted to talk to me, and I didn't want to talk to him. And I was still giving him a lot of power over me at this point. I mean, I needed money for my baby, and I indulged his freakouts sometimes, but this time I did not want to. And I'd hung up on him or something. And he called me back, and he told me that he was breaking all of my stuff in the house, and he was going to burn it in the front yard, and just all this stuff. So I freak out. And I call my daddy, because that's what you do. You call your daddy.
Yeah.
And my daddy is a teddy bear, and he's always been my hero. I love him. But he was scary. He could be scary. And my first husband was scared of him. And my dad picked up the phone, and he called him, and he said, his name, insert his name here. He's like, yeah. He goes, I'm telling you right now, don't touch any of her stuff. And he was like, she needs to go home. And he's like, I'm on my way over there. You break another thing, I'm going to break your face or whatever.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm on my way. My dad is fast asleep 2 hours later when the cops are beating on his door, because my first husband has called and reported that my father is away to his house to hurt him physically. And my dad was like, dude, I went right to bed after I talked to him on the phone. I just was trying to scare him. He goes, well, you did. You scared him. So that was how supportive they were of me at that point.
I love him.
A good guy. Like, I mean, he survived electrocution, first off. He had heard him say the dad is just a teddy bear. He's just the sweetest. I love it so much. Now you're on your own. You're a single mom. And you're living with Don's mama.
Mm-hmm.
What is that next phase? So I know, I know your story. I know you're about to meet the love of your life and the man who will,
well, as
be
I
with
said,
you to this day.
for a long time. But stepping back a little bit, my grandmother was very upset that I was getting a divorce, even from this man that was not nice to me. And she told me, y'all continue to live in my house, and y'all just sleep in separate rooms, and y'all stay married. And I'm like, I don't think. She's like, marriage is supposed to be forever. And I was like, I don't think that God wants me to be with this man forever. I don't think, I just don't see him wanting me to live this life. I'm like 22 years old. So that's not something I mean, thinking about it now, I mean, I want to no, still being with that man. No. she was like, you can do it. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. That's not going to me. So she pretty much said, well, I'm getting rid of my house. Y'all got to go. So that's when I told you that I met up with Don's mom. And so they were actually moving out of a rent house that they lived in, and they were having to find a new place. So it just kind of all happened at the same time, and we got a house together. So it was Mary and me and Zach and Dawn. So we all moved in together. Big happy thing. I mean, me and Dawn just started hanging out. I didn't have my baby every other week. He was, going to his dad's, and we went out and we played pool a lot. We went out and played pool. But honestly, this 17-year-old kid, I say kid, I was 22, talked to me and listened to me and wanted to know what my dreams were and wanted to know what I wanted for my son. And stuff that I had not ever gotten from my husband. And I mean, I fell in love with him. I mean, it just happened, and he was not into it. So it was weird though, because I had started making my feelings known, and he was like, "You're like a mom with a kid," and I'm like, "I just graduated. Like, this is weird." So it's funny because this went on for a little while, and when I just got to the point where I was like, I can't continue to live with them. Like, I'm in love with this man, and my brother was like, Shayne, give up.
Yeah.
It's never happened. It's not gonna happen. I talked to him.
Yeah.
It's not gonna. I was like, okay. So I went out. I found me a rent house, and me and my brother were moving out, and I basically told him, hey, we're leaving. And he was like, well, I'm going with you. And that's how he told me. Like, I feel like it was like one of those things where as long as I was there, he didn't have to make any kind of big plans. But when I was gone, he was like, oh no, I choose you. I'm going with you. So that's kind of how it happened.
And so y'all been together, what, 30 years now?
30 years this year.
Oh God.
You're too young for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh my God. And so you're still in your single mom. You've got this new man in your life, and you, did you, how do you said you were in love with him, but you're like, this is it. He's mine
I
good.
was thinking of it that way. It's hard when you're coming out of a bad relationship like I just did. Just say, oh yeah, he's my end. He's definitely who I want to be with now.
Forever.
But I tell you, that man is a saint, and he paid for a lot of stuff that my first husband put on me. I was not going to take any crap. Nobody's going to treat me this way. Nobody's going to have control of everything. I'm going to be in control of everything. And he was a kid, and he was moving from his mom's house into my house, and he just was like, okay. I mean, he just did whatever I wanted to. So, it was kind of one of those things where I didn't pick a subservient person, but I definitely turned him into that, because I was just like, I will never have a man treat me that way again. So I feel very, very bad for him. I've apologized a lot, because it was probably the first 5 or 6 years of my life. He paid for stuff that he never did.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Hey, I think one of my favorite stories is that he didn't become a built-in babysitter. He wasn't 21, so you could go out.
Absolutely.
And he stay home and raise Zach.
I mean, when we would go to the casino, he couldn't get in, so he'd be like, okay, see y'all later. Yeah.
I still need somebody to go.
Yeah. Totally was like that.
I love
Luckily,
it.
he's a great dad, so,
Yeah, they've always stayed. And the thing about her, for those listening, the way that Dawn talks about you, he loves you and he adores you, and he was the first person, but he sees what everybody else sees. You know what I'm saying? Like, your grace and your beauty and your kindness, and the two of you together is amazing. You are more than just a wife. You are more than just a mother. But the two of them together complement each other so well. I learned a lot about relationships from watching the people in relationships in my life, like my parents and, Dorcas and, Dwayne. And you're one of those people. Like, I said to me with a happy story when we were in line with the three of us after church. And dog potting where he's on the road. Well, I'll
Go
say
ahead,
you can
I'll
edit
tell
out
you.
if we need to, but like we were at lunch and the three of us at the church, and John had to really tip about something. And
We always do.
I knew learned about like the menu right where I was trying to run off and it's the two for lunch or mine that if I kind of thing. And I'm just on this. Well, whatever. What is it? Is it that in on a dime, the two of you looked at each other and you apologized like, I'm sorry, baby, I didn't mean to be short or whatever. And he sounds right too. And he was over like that.
Yeah.
And in my head, he does a curable relationship. So, I don't have ever experienced that area, it's like but now. But if I were able to not have the grace, and not have the maturity, and not have the self-awareness to shut it down and move on so quickly. Like, I was stressed out from the 2-minute fight I had. To the point where I was like, oh my God, they're going to get worse. And y'all just, the other day, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have said what I said. And he was like, oh man, I shouldn't have done this. And then it was done and we back up. I'm sitting there looking between the two of y'all going, what just happened? Like, is that how it's supposed to be? And
Yes, it is. It just isn't always like
so
But honestly, it's funny that you bring this up because honestly, that interaction has a lot to do with interaction from my mother. So
Perfect
to bring it
segue.
back, yes, my mom, as great as everything was, when she got upset when we were young, she shut you out. Like she didn't talk to you. That was her punishment. It was very strange because still like, and it's affected me because you know me, I don't let anything go. If you've upset me or you made me mad,
I'm going to talk about it.
yeah, I'm like, I did it to me and Lydia pretty early in our relationship about something. Because if I love you, I don't want there to be stuff between us. And I really feel like how she raised us made me into the person that I am. It stresses me out and I'm not gonna let it do that. I'm never gonna do that. I remember a time when we were sitting on the couch and my brother was playing and she said, Keith, ask your sister what she wants for dinner when I'm sitting next to her. And I mean, she was just being a butt, but that was her way of showing, hey, you've done me wrong. And that was something that I definitely learned that I would never be that way. So I don't let things go. I don't get upset and not, I get upset, but I confront the person. I don't want there to be stuff between us. And I want things to be over with. I want to flesh it out and then be done. So that's definitely something I do not hold grudges. I either forgive you or I've learned my lesson and you can't be in my life anymore if it's that bad. I mean, that's pretty much how it is.
Yeah.
You pretty much know where you stand with me because I'll call you and tell you.
Yes.
You're out.
Yes.
I'm like,
It's been
sorry.
real. We're done.
We can't do this anymore. So yeah. But
You
that
do.
is
You're
def-
so good at that. That is
Yeah.
I think one of your best spiritual gifts is that is that you want. It's that great. Or I think it's also grace for people. Like it's kind of grace to know that people make mistakes. And
Yeah.
God doesn't matter. We had that conversation that one time that I did something that upset you. But I was heartbroken. Like, I can't believe I haven't said her. But I heard that he had grace for me that I'm not perfect, and that our friendship survived. Kind of thing.
That's the reason why I did it. I felt it was important that we got that out of the way.
Because it's that you're
forgive and forget.
You're going to be here forever.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, let me-
because that's already a thing.
Yeah. I mean, because way after Jared and Dawn, we're going to be next to Sissy and Melissa in their little tiny house colony somewhere on a lake. Whatever. We never had this conversation that I'm making plans for us, Shayne. It's fine.
Hey,
yeah.
they're talking about my husband dying. What that's weird.
Am I going to get a phone call later?
Hypothetical.
I'm like, don't be saying that. I'm not gonna make it.
Okay, we have those conversations all the time. Like when our men are gone, it's just gonna be us living like the Golden Girls in the Bahamas, whatever, or on the lake somewhere. But we don't want bad things happening to Dawn. We love Dawn, and I love that Dawn loves you. And I never have I never have to worry about Don hurting you because Don is a good man. I mean, he's not perfect, nobody's perfect, but he's a good fella.
I would
He's
hurt
a good
Don way
dad.
before Don would hurt me. That's the problem. I'm way more cutthroat and ugly than he is. So yeah, it would be
He's
me.
such a pacifist, you know. It's like, yeah, Shayne would raise our first, but in a good way.
Hey, he's not as much as a pacifist as when we first got together. And I was like, you used to never be this argumentative or upset. Or he's like, I had to survive. I had to come closer to the middle, or you would have killed me long ago.
Well, I was going to ask you, when did it level up? Because at some point it's going to level up.
It was
You know.
probably about 15 years ago. It was probably halfway through where we are.
Yeah.
Probably 15 years in marriage. He woke up one day and he's like, I can't take this anymore. I'm going to have to.
Fix
I'm
it,
a
Jesus.
man in this relationship. And I'm like, all right. I'll let you. So, which is funny. That really is when it happened, and it's really where he stepped up to be our spiritual head of our household. I mean, there was a definite shift in our relationship, and as much as we loved each other and stuff like that, I honestly felt a change. I mean, there was a change, and it felt even more right than it did before.
Yeah. And what is Don's relationship with your parents? Like, were they okay when y'all got together? Because it was still really young. It was quick after the
my
other
mom
marriage.
was like, "What is wrong with you? You just got out of this bad relationship, and you're getting with this kid. What's wrong with you?" And I mean, they met him, and my dad scared him too.
Yeah.
At first, but my dad and him. So Don grew up as a very strong mom that did everything for him. No dad in his life, or he had crappy dads in his life, but nothing to speak of. So he tells the story like, I mean, that my mom and dad, my mom and his mom became really close friends. So she was always with us, and he was like, I didn't need a dad when I met your dad. I'd already passed that point in my life, but he was the dad that I didn't have. He taught him how to do stuff and showed him how to do things. And another funny story, we had bought a trailer. This was probably 7 or 8 years into our relationship. We were together 5 years before we got married, but we bought this trailer, and my dad was a pipe fitter, so he was like, don't pay anybody to dig the trenches. We'll pay all the electrical, you know how men are. That's not how my husband's like, how much is it going to cost us down to do it? Let's do it. Okay. So my dad was like, don't pay anybody. We'll do this. So my dad had gotten off work like at 3. We didn't get off till 5. So by the time we got there, my dad had already been there 2 or 3 hours. And of course, something wasn't going right. So we get there, and my mom and dad live in my grandma's house, which is right next door. So we pull up in the driveway, and my dad's under the trailer. He's muddy. He's mad. There's something that's not going wrong. And my dad is under there kicking stuff, yelling stuff. That's how I grew up. That's how he wasn't upset. He was just upset. He wasn't upset at anybody. And we get there, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you later. And I go to my mom's. And Don hadn't been around my dad, but 5, 6 times. I come back to get him for us to go home, and he was like, I cannot believe you. Did you hear him? You left me with him? I was scared that like you were going to come back and I was going to be buried in the woods or something. I was like, oh, he was fine. That's the way he works. And
He was just talking.
But after I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I've grown up with. That's how I get upset. And Dawn was like, I've never grown up around men. I don't know how this happened. So it was funny. But anyway, they loved him. They thought I was making a mistake because he was this young kid, and they thought I needed time because I'd never lived by myself. Whatever. I was just like, nope, I know best.
Yeah.
Which I usually think I do.
Okay, you're not fine. You're fine.
It did. So,
I mean, I think 30 years is a nice little,
it is.
That's a little, plenty of dad points for success, and that's fine.
But it's easy to say that now than 5 years after that. You're like, when's this going to break up? When's this going to happen? But,
So y'all been together for 30 years. You've got your career. You kind of, been listening to it. Let's talk about your career. Let's talk about kind of the transition you're in now as a daughter.
yes.
As, whatever
But
you're
your son
comfortable
is,
with.
how old is Zach now?
Yeah.
How old is Zach now?
He will be 31 on
Okay.
Saturday.
Okay. And
He's
he's
such a good
moved
guy.
out. He's living his life, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. As a mom, there's something else. So we were I wanted to be there for Zach. Again, my parents very social, I was in drill team and on the drill team and did stuff at school, and my parents did not show up for that a lot. So that was something that I don't know if they just didn't deem it important or if they were too busy. It just wasn't their thing. So I said when I had a kid that I would go. So I was band mom, I was football mom, Don was, coach. We did everything. We were always with him. Our house was always open to whoever wanted to come over and stay the night. We just had like a revolving door of his friends and stuff, which is stuff that I did not have as much when I was young. And we made sure we were both on the same page, so we wanted him to be very independent. And like when he went into 9th grade, I quit doing his laundry. He needed to learn how to do it, and he could do his own laundry, and he had chores and stuff like that. So just a quick story. So he's went to college and graduated from culinary art school. He's been working at the Marriott for 10 years. And he called me one day and he was like, Mom, I don't have any prospects of a girlfriend. I mean, I'm never going to get married this way. The hours are horrible. It doesn't lead you into a good life, So he said, I'm going to look for another job. And I'm like, okay. And I mean, he's got benefits. He's got, vacation, he's got all this stuff. So he comes to me last year and says, I found this job. I'm going to start working at the 10-truck company. It's entry level, but it's not to get $3 more an hour. I'm like, that's amazing. They're going to train you. He told me all this stuff. Yeah. He gets into and starts working, and he tells me about 2 months in, and it's a contract position. And I was like, why didn't you mention that? And he was like, I didn't think it was important. I said, no, you knew that I was going to have a cow, that you were quitting a job you'd been at for 10 years to go to work for a possible job. It's fine. They keep telling us, well, 2 weeks ago, they came in and said, none of y'all's contracts are renewed, and he got laid off.
Yeah.
So he calls me when I'm at my parents and tells me, and of course, my mom wants to be in the middle of everything. And I come home and I start telling Dawn, we need to call this person, we need to call this. And Dawn was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What are you doing? I said, we mean? He goes, he's 30 years old. He has not lived with us for 6 years. And I said, yeah. He goes, this ain't your problem. And I said, it's not my problem, but I mean, I want to help him. He goes, we'll help him. If he gets to be homeless, he can go stay in that room until he finds someplace else to live. That's the extent you're helping him. He's like, he needs to do it on his own.
You go, yes, but I want to aggressively help him.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's why he aggressively said, back off, Mom, you ain't doing it. So
That is so
I
funny.
washed my hands of it right then, and I was like, okay, so I have not been in it, but yes.
Yeah.
So
Very proud of
there
me.
times like that pop up.
Yeah, we had that this weekend. Cody.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Cody has moved out, and he needed to borrow our truck, and they live about an hour away. He had to come over, and they had another car, so he had to come. He had to take Dwayne's truck so he could take everything in one thing, drive it back, pick up his car, drive back. So it's 3 hours on the road. And my brain was going, well, why don't I know it's late Sunday night. I know I got things to do tomorrow. Why don't we just drive the truck over there so he don't have to drive? We'll drive for 2 hours so he don't have to drive for 3.
Yes.
And Dwayne just went, nope, he's grown. He wanted to move out. He can drive. And he did.
Yeah.
And he did.
That's why Dwayne and Dawn get along so good.
Yeah. And I was just like, well, I was just trying to make it easy. He goes, nope.
He's
I know.
young too. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me
he's
strong
young
because
too.
that's what he said. He goes, you will sit here and stress out, and he will be just like he always is, like, everything's going to work out, Mom. Don't get all upset. And he said, you're going to be stressed out. This is not happening. Got enough on her plate. I was like, so anyway. So we can go back to what your question was.
No, but that's perfect. That's as a mother, that's just what you do.
So so that's the life of empty nesters, okay? There you go, right there.
Yeah.
Which is funny because honestly, I love him, but
thinking about him possibly having to come back and live here, I was like, no, I don't want him to live here. I love him. I love when he comes over and stays 2 to 3 hours. After that, you're messing up my schedule and you got to go. Like that, I do love him, but I'm not one of these moms that are like, you never come see me or whatever. So anyway, which it could have to do with the other situation I'm in. So
Yeah.
you live real far. I do. So
Yeah.
you
want to
know,
go into business.
yeah.
But yeah,
but
let's talk about like your current state of.
If he runs out of too much money, though, he won't care how far it is. So let's pray for that
That's
job.
true.
Wants
Yes.
to come along. So the situation I'm in now. So when we started building this house, my dad had just been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and my mom has been legally blind probably for 10 years now. So when Dawn first started asking me to move out here, I was like, no, I don't. First of all, I want to move to the country. I'm a Seabrook. And two, I can't be away from my parents. Like, I don't want to move that far since, they're starting to get older. And so when we finally made the decision to block land out here, that's when my dad got diagnosed with prostate cancer, which they had a plan for him really quickly. And they started treatment and he responded very well. So in that time, we did the same thing. We put our house on the market, and for that area, it was taking 3 to 6 months to sell, and it sold in 2 weeks. So we had 30 days to get out. So we basically called my parents. And by the way, that's when my son was like, I was like, we're going to grandma and grandpa's. You going with us? And he was like, no. So that's when he moved out.
Yeah.
So he was at 25, but we never saw him because of his job. It was like he didn't even live there. Like he was coming in after we were in bed and he was leaving for work before we got home from work. So it was like he didn't even live there. But anyway, he was not moving over there. So we moved in with them. And my dad goes through about a year. He goes into remission, but he starts showing like signs of stuff. Like they didn't really know. Like we didn't even really know at first. We couldn't get our hands or our fingers on it, what it was. And he started having problems like thinking of words and remembering things. So I went to the neurologist and they said that he has aphasia. And when I researched that, it's basically it's the ability to, like, you're thinking all perfectly or whatever, but the conduit that makes it go from your brain to your mouth is broken in some way. It happens a lot of times. People have strokes and things like that. But his was not getting better. And they said that they didn't think that the treatment caused it. Like every doctor I talked to said that treatment does not cause that. But it's probably something he would have had later in life. But what happens when you take, treatment for cancer is it kills good stuff just like it kills the bad stuff. And they said, you think of it like a brick wall in front of like this disease, and it slowly chips away as you get older. Well, this medicine and things that he took probably knocked that wall down quicker. Because my dad is extremely healthy body-wise. And so he just started once we got over here, he was still driving and things like that. He was having a hard time talking, but then we started seeing him kind of slip. And I was saying I didn't think he needed to drive anymore. This was probably 6-7 months ago. And my mom was like, he's fine. She can't see you standing in front of him. I was like, I don't trust you, lady. I need to. So we were going to see his dog.
You're not the judge of how driving's going.
Exactly. Look, we just figured out that my husband has had a goatee for 10 years. And probably last year, my mom goes, you don't have a goatee. I was like, are you kidding? And he goes, you don't really know what I look like, do you, Sarah? You can never see my face. So, yeah. So, when I say he's legally blind, you can see shapes and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
But
I mean, she could see us. She could see the slot machines at the casino real good.
I don't even think she could. It's been so long. I don't think she could even see those anymore.
You remember those times, like when we went to the casino and we're over there, like she didn't even know what she got. She just didn't know.
Yeah.
And then she over there with like $20,000, and we're just like, Sarah, it's like what?
So she's like, I put a $20. I mean, I put $100 bill in this machine. I'm like, it says $5, Mom. You didn't put no 100. So but yeah, she knows that she can't see. Anyway, so I decided on the way to that neurology appointment that day, I was like, well, I'm gonna let him drive us. Scariest day of my life. I was like, how long has he been driving like this? Scary, scary, scary. I was like, I don't care what the doctors say, you're never driving. So we got there, and this was to the speech therapist. So we get there and we start talking. I told her he drove us there. She's like, he's still driving? It's like, yeah, nobody's told him he can't. And she's like, he doesn't
Not
need
no
to
more.
drive. Yes.
Not no more.
She's like, I was like, I heard that James can no longer drive.
Exactly. I'm like, thank you. So, so with that being said, I had already started taking on some of their care a little bit, just kind of making sure stuff. But this is the appointment that me and my mom's relationship took a very big turn. Like, you are now the child and I'm the parent.
Yeah.
So we're in there and they tell my dad that, and my mom starts falling crying. My dad has kept his joy through this whole thing. Even when he could still talk a little bit, you'd say, how are you? And he'd be like, I got the Lord, I'm great. And I had not seen him get upset one time about this, but my mom started crying in that appointment and he starts crying. And the speech therapist said, what's wrong, James? And he pointed at her. And I was like, you're going to have to stop this. Like, this isn't happening to you. And she said, my life is over. This is definitely happening to me. So that right then, I got very angry. And I was like, you have to stay strong for him. So anyway, that was a very big eye opener, because she has depended on him for so long that she hasn't been able to see. And I totally get it. She's like, okay, if he can't take care of me, who can? But Don and I talked about it, and he said, do you remember when they first diagnosed her, you sat her down and you talked to her and you told her she needed to learn Braille and she needed to do this and she needed to do that, and she said, no, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. And he said she had it in her head that your dad was always going to be perfect and he was going to take care of her until she died, and she didn't have to put any effort into it, which is exactly what has happened. So now that he can't drive, and he's definitely been taking a deep dive in the last 6 months or whatever, he forgets stuff. He's constant. I mean, he's still on some medication for his cancer and stuff because they have to keep his testosterone down. So it's like I'm a nurse. I go over there in the mornings. Sometimes he can get up, sometimes he can't. I don't know if his body doesn't tell him to move his legs or if he gets stove up, but sometimes I'll go over there and he's already gone for a walk in the morning. Sometimes I go over there and he points to his legs like he can't get out of bed, so I have to help him out.
So your parents, your parents live with you on the property, just so people understand that.
So
they're right next door,
Yeah, when we built the house, we built like a little casita kind of thing that they're in. So they're just right across the way from us. So, which I'm so grateful and so thankful for the foresight in that. Because, and we were an hour and a half away where we used to live, and it wouldn't be good for them to be there. So sometimes he's great and he does good. And the other day I was leaving and he said, love you, which I hadn't heard him talk in a while.
Yeah.
So sometimes he can say stuff. Then other times, like last week when Donna looked up, where I looked into the backyard because our dog was out there and he saw smoke going and he went out in the front yard and my dad had set the entire front yard on fire. Don't know how he did
Oh my
it.
goodness.
Don't
Oh my
know.
goodness.
He picked up
Poor
all the sticks
baby.
in the yard. I don't know if he went and got gas and threw it everywhere, but Lydia, the side yard over there, it looks like someone had burned all the crops down. Like there's no grass, it's black.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
So he
Poor
can't tell
baby.
you and
Yeah.
whatever. So we're having little incidents like that. He found his other set of keys to the truck the other day, and my mom runs over here. Your dad just left in the truck. He hasn't driven in 6-8 months. And I'm like, we jump up, we get in the car, and Don's like, where do you think he went? And I said, he brought his gas cans over the other day, and Don was on a call at work, and he was like, I can't leave right now. I'm working.
Yeah.
We'll go after work. Well, my dad didn't tell him that it hit me. I said, he went to fill those gas cans up. And he goes, he think? And I was like, it was something that didn't get marked off his list. Sure enough, we go out. He's at that store up there, probably 3 or 4 miles away. He drove by up there. We get there and he's looking at us like, what are y'all doing here? And I was like, Daddy, you can't drive. So he had already filled up 2 gas cans. So Don said,
I'm here. Clearly I can.
So Don's like, give me your wallet and I'll go pay for your gas. He didn't have his wallet. He didn't have no money. He didn't have, I guess he would have put it all in his truck and just came on home and stolen all that gas. I don't know. So, and then I'm griping at him in the truck and he's laughing just like our. He's just laughing. I'm like, this is so fun. So that's our life now.
Yeah.
We stay here. We can't really leave them. We're looking into getting some help, but it's hard. It's hard. So as I said before, I feel like we have 2 toddlers because I'm changing diapers and washing bedclothes and making sure they take their medicine and cooking dinner for them every night. I've got 2 children that I did not ask for.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't prepare for.
Yeah.
But Jesus was like, here you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
But it's what you're doing though it's one of those things I know is hard. And like as your friend, I see that it's hard and I can hear in your voice that it's hard. But I feel like you know again just how awesome a person you are. I wouldn't expect anything less.
Well, thank you. If you lived inside of my head someday, you would not think I'm that person.
I know, but I think you're allowed to do that. I think that you can have feelings about this thing that you were not anticipating for.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, other things that you weren't anticipating in your life. But you do it because this is just, it's really there's some out of no other options.
Yeah.
What you're doing is not, but it's commendable. But you wouldn't.
Right.
You wouldn't turn your mind in it. William James was, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because she also, I would bring back like shit cold.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't do it to my dad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. He's definitely reaping the benefits of what I'm doing for him at this point.
Yeah.
No, so this is what has changed since this happened. My mom does not want to do anything to help the situation, which I feel like that she could be doing more. She doesn't want to acknowledge that she doesn't have the ability to do that stuff, but she is not appreciative and she is not, and she still thinks that she has a say in things. And I'm like, you don't. You are not making good decisions.
Yeah.
You do not live in the reality that is reality. And I don't believe that you can make these decisions on your own. And she gets really mad at me and she gets mad at him. And that's why she acts like he's choosing to be this way. And I'm sure after being with somebody for 55 years, it's hard when they don't speak to you when you talk to them and things like that. So I try to be very gracious in what she's going through, but the way that she's treating my dad, it's super hard. Like I don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
Is it the loss of control, you think? Because that's, always my thing. When I lose control, I'm going to be a bear to everybody.
I definitely think that is.
Yeah.
I definitely think that
It's
has
hard
with it.
I
Yeah.
imagine it is. But just as a mother, let me be the mother, because you have to take care of yourself. Truly. You have to find that support group. You have to find someone who's going through the same thing that you're going through, that you can get the support. Someone who understands clearly, or at least partially, what you're going through. You really have to put a guard for you and your husband's time together too. So And there is help out there.
And Shayne,
Trudy.
I think that there's
Yeah.
probably a nice support group at the casino that you and I can like
Yeah.
go to for the weekend.
I would like to meet the support group.
So I
Yes.
will Google it. I will find ones at
Yes.
the Berge.
At the
It's funny though, because I have started this like tiny business thing, which is really a zen place for me. It lets me be creative and it lets
very
me kind
good. Yeah.
of, and I've met people on there, and there's actually a girl that's going through kind of the same thing, and
Yes.
she's kind of to make her parents relinquish control and stuff. And it's funny because I'm like, I've never met this girl, but we are going through very much the same thing.
Similar.
And
Yeah.
yes, so we do like she'll write me in the morning or something, and she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, like why, what did I do so bad that God put this on her life?" I'm like, "Girl, I don't know. Me too. Something's catching with me." So it's been very nice, but
Yeah.
you know, it's hard right now because we can't leave together. Like we don't go to church together.
Right. Yeah.
Like we have to pick and choose. Like we switch off or whatever. So it's hard. We haven't left this house together in a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
That's pretty hard.
it is. But I don't know how the dynamics. It would be so much easier if my mom wasn't putting up the roadblock that she is. Like she doesn't want me to be the boss of her.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you can
What
do
mom
nothing.
does.
That's true. I'm like, you can't buy groceries, you can't go pick up your medicine, you can't
Yeah.
use the phone without me dialing in. I mean, what I don't know what you want control of, you know?
Yeah.
So she can find General Hospital on the TV. That's about all that she can do by herself.
Same.
So
That's
It's
still
been-
on
it
there.
is.
Oh my
It
god.
is. Yes.
Luke and
So-
Laura are gone, but yeah,
Luke
it's
and
still on the
Laura,
thing,
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's back on there.
Is he?
Oh
That's the
my
thing about these
gosh.
soap operas. They can bring back
No.
like the Luke and the Lauras and the Sunnies and the Brendas. They can bring them back with and never skip a beat.
Oh, Sunny's definitely
Yeah.
on. I see him on there all the time when I go up there.
I do enjoy him. Like I do. Like from like 1992, 93 with him and Brenda and Jax. And that was like the best.
Well, you can come sit with my parents so we can go
Oh
out to
my
eat. You can watch General Hospital.
Hey, don't credit
There
me with
you
a good
go.
time. I love your
You
parents. James
you
loved
found
me.
your
Yeah.
babysitter. Yeah.
You come home, I'm
Your
over there with Sarah. Be like,
Your
what?
parent sitter.
Exactly.
And your dad's at the gas station because Lydia's watching
That's
General
right.
Hospital.
I took those keys too. I'm like, he's gonna have to hotwire that truck. if
Oh
he
my
ever leaves.
gosh.
James.
So-
Love James. I love your parents. They're good people. They really are. Like I enjoy the times that we go over to the house and play cards and hang out and just be like they made you who you are. Like you said, it kind of
They
shapes
totally-
who you
they
are,
totally-
and they're good. They're good. But I hate to see your dad struggling like that. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch you struggle. As I said, as your friend, it's hard to watch you do that. And I just pray for peace for you and Dawn and for, James and Sarah all the time. Just
Thank you.
peace and good days.
I feel
We-
like this
we are.
is the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the other stuff we've talked about the divorce and, just other things I've gone through in my life is not, it hasn't been like this.
Do you think that any of it prepared you for this?
No. I don't.
Did
Thanks
not
for this
see
new
this
lesson,
coming.
God.
I do not think it did. I think that you kind of get, especially when it comes to my dad, but you kind of get this thing in your head like your parents are like superheroes. I mean, like
Indestructible.
nothing's gonna happen to them. You hear other people talk about it, and you don't think it's your parents. And like I said, my dad's in great health, and my mom is in crappy health. And I feel like she's gonna live 30 more years longer than he is, and he's in the best health except for this. It's just that's the way it happens. And so I don't know. You think it's not gonna happen to me. This isn't gonna be my life. And,
Yeah.
it is.
How do you equate yourself outside of, Dawn's wife and Zach's mother and now a mother to James and
Caregiver.
Sarah?
Yeah, to
caregiver.
your mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Like, what do you do for you? I know you talk about your tumblers, but who are you outside of those roles? Or who
I
do you
don't.
want to be outside of those roles? Let's do that.
So yeah,
I-
just so you know, Mom said that she is a yoga painter, right?
A yoga
Yes.
instructing
Yoga
painter.
Yes, I'm a watercolor artist
Okay.
and a chair yoga. Don't forget that. I mean, like
Chair. Oh,
not
now
actual
it's chair
yoga. It's got to be a chair yoga. Yes,
It's
instructor.
being instructed like that.
But you
Yeah.
truly are an
You know.
artist, so yes,
You are.
I do believe
Mhm.
that. I am a traveler. I am a adventurer in that way but I'm grounded right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Passport's
Yes.
expired.
Yes, yeah. But that's really, which is, I am married to the most wonderful man and I love him with all my heart and I never want to be without him. That man could care less to ever leave this house.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh,
then my friend has to go and get married and like, I'm like, so look, the house of my life now. I go nowhere. I do nothing.
Yes, that ruined my life too, Shane. She was my hiking buddy. You know, we
It's
go
just
wherever
over.
and go hiking, but yeah, my life
I
is
know,
over.
like I
Yeah.
could go to Shane's. Like my favorite thing to do is to go to Shane's for a long weekend. Like,
And
it's
just-
like if I'm off on my Friday and she had to work, I'd still come over. I'm gonna come over. I'm just gonna hang out until you get off work and spend the weekend, and we'd be in the pool and we'd eat and just have this great little thing. And then now until I was like, I have a husband and 4 kids. I gotta
No.
talk
She's
to him. I can't leave him here with kids. I gotta
I'm like, what does that have to do with me?
nothing.
What?
And I told that to Jared too. I was like, yeah, so, I'm just gonna go to Shane's for the weekend. It's fine, right? You're good.
He's letting me.
He can come
No,
now,
but
though, so we're good.
Yes. I feel like that, I feel like that's not really my view on these med travels the world. I don't know. I don't know who I am at this point. I feel very lost for the first time in
Yeah.
my life. I'm a pretty decisive. This is how it's got to be, and people look to me for their direction, and I'm like, don't even live my way. I cannot help you. I'm
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
person. So
how old are you, Shane?
I
How
will
old are
be
you?
53 this year.
Okay. So I'm 49 today and I'll
No.
be 50. So I'm looking
You're too.
Oh,
No,
I
I,
think
I never.
Yeah.
No, I
oh,
never
so
would have
yes,
thought you were
today's my birthday,
50.
so I'm 49.
Thank
So
you.
I was wondering how close we are in
Yeah.
age, because but I feel like that too. I feel like you don't quite know where you're doing doing this for us. Stepping outside of this comfort zone and doing this is my cups right now. It's my
Yeah.
cups.
And that's right. I think it's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay,
None of us know. We
So,
don't know what we're doing. We
yeah,
have technical issues.
this is my midlife crisis. Okay,
that's good. This is a good midlife
this
crisis.
is
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
You can go and
yeah,
buy
this is
that,
stepping out of my comfort
you know.
zone.
That's
Yeah, I told Dorcas I'm
Oh.
not good at this yet, but I will be, baby. I will be.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna figure it out.
Yes.
We have no
Happy
idea.
birthday,
Yes.
Dorcas. I'm
Oh,
so
that's fun.
so sorry I didn't
Thanks.
have a birthday.
It's fine.
And
yeah, today is.
That's all.
yeah, so I'll be
Mhm.
53 in June.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we're close
So,
in age. That's good.
yeah,
But yeah,
we're-
that's what I feel like. I feel like 50. I feel like that's what your 50s are for, though. It's like, because you're done with your kids and I know you got your parents, but it's still just figuring out what's next.
Yeah.
So, how old are your
Next.
parents, Shane?
My dad is 73 and my mom is 71.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
They're,
That's me. That's me and Daniel.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't feel like they're
Yeah.
old. I don't feel like they're old enough to be going through what they're going through. You know what I
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, my dad still, I'll check his Fitbit and he still walks like 6 miles a day. He's,
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in great physical condition. And I often look over there and think he's doing this for my mom because knowing the prideful, get his hands dirty, work all his life man, I can see it in his face sometimes when I have to go over there and I have to clean him or I have to get him in the shower or do something. He's embarrassed. He doesn't
Sure.
want me to do this. He's having a really hard time when he recognizes what's going on. And I think to myself, why is he keeping himself in such good condition? Like, I feel like because of what he's going through, he'd rather just go and be with the Lord. And he's doing it for her. He is scared what's going to happen to her.
Yes.
When you
Yeah.
know, that's what he's worried about.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's
and I'm like, she's too mean to die. She's going to be fun.
That's the truth with mothers and daughters. You're like, she's fine. We're
She's
fine.
I'm
That's
not
the
gonna
battle
let you
cry.
happen to her.
Just so you know, that's the battle cry in our house. You're
Yeah.
fine.
She's gonna outlive us all just to piss me off. That's what
Exactly. I feel like I can always pass her and make her go live with my brother when something happens. That
It works.
Remember that punishing your brother.
Oh, I don't care. Whatever. You don't know. Whoever takes it is fine.
So at the end of the day, what is it that you want your legacy to be? When Zach thinks of you, your parents, with your friends, your husband, what is your legacy?
I really like how you see me.
You're
awesome.
awesome.
Look at me like I'm a gracious, good friend, and I would do anything for anybody. And I'm still sassy, and I still have my opinions, and I can still be not a sweet person, but I'm overall a sweet person.
If you're not sweet to somebody, they deserve it.
Well, you know, that's because you love me. That may
do.
not always be the case.
Like, I'm sorry, yeah, you sliced that guy in the parking lot, but he needed it. Like, he needed a lesson that only comes from Shayne. I know you wouldn't, because we don't want to get dirty, but I'd help you.
Exactly.
I'll leave the target shovel. It's fine. You have land. You have a lot of land with a bunch of woods on it. We could totally mix it up.
Yeah. And I want my son to be a good, productive, happy addition to society. I mean, I feel like our legacy is left in our children a lot, and you know, the people that and Don even says this, you know, he's like, Zach's mine, even though he's not his, and he's like, I feel like whatever we imprint, what you imprint on those 4 girls is going to be something that they live up to, and I want. Zach calls me his best friend. He tells me that. He calls me and says, Mom, did we talk enough? Because my roommate's mom calls him every day, and me and you won't talk for 2 weeks. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm like, I don't need to talk to you. You're good. I mean, that's how I want him to be able to function without me being, I don't need to be one of these kids that need to call their parents every time somebody hurts their feelings. That's, you know, I want him to be his own. Yes, you're fine. Like, suck it up, rub some dirt on it, and hit the road.
Yes.
But I would like to be a grandma, too, but...
Oh, yeah.
We'll find Zach somebody. I'm always looking for people for, like, my niece and people like Zach. I'm always, like, playing matchmaker.
A matchmaker.
Please do. Find somebody that will put up with it. He's a great kid.
He's a great cook.
He's a great cook.
That's something we went to culinary school. He is. He's so
hilarious.
He's got a good personality.
He's cheap.
Cheap or frugal?
He's cheap. Whatever. He is still paying a lot of student debt, so he says he's not going to be so cheap when he gets that paid off, which he's done a really good job with that. But I'm like, you need to spend some money. He's like, that's why I ain't got a girlfriend. They're too expensive. So,
yes.
You know, and he also has a roommate that's very dramatic to his girlfriend. He's like, I don't need that. I can just be by myself.
Word.
It's off-putting.
One of the things that we've kind of done on these episodes is, I think, our favorite memories of, you know, our guests or whatever. And I've got so many. Like, I just have so many fond memories of you and our friendship and the laughter or tears. I was telling, like, in my episode, I made a comment about, like, without using names, like, when I met Jared and, you know, everything was going good and, you know, we're getting serious. And then I think back to when I, like, cried about the unemployed guy who lived with his mother. And you were one of the few girls just keeping in check as the dumbest decisions I made. And so I always appreciated that.
Good.
Thank you. And you would always keep it real without making me feel bad about myself. Like, without making me feel bad about myself. I've actually just one of my favorite memories of you in general was just, like, and simple as it was like at my wedding. You know, you kind of played that role of coordinator of my friend, and I didn't have bridesmaids, you were there, and you were just there. And I loved, you know, just the look, and there you were, and you were just helping me get dressed, and you were doing this with this, and not avoiding people. You're good at that, and you're a planner. And I love just having you there that day. Yes.
I'm aggressively helpful.
You were aggressively helpful. And your husband, Don, married me and Jared. And but I heard said, Don married me and Jared, and ours is a big part of my life. And if you don't know Shayne, you should know Shayne. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well, I love
we're
you.
glad we know you because I really appreciated your role in that wedding too. Because I thought, man, I need to help. I need to do. Oh no, Shayne's got it.
Yeah.
So yes, you were really special then.
Thank
So I
you.
appreciate that a lot.
She likes to play to my strengths, and that's one of them.
And she knows how to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
She knows
she's
real
such a
good
good
how to
planner.
do that.
Because I too am
She
a
does,
planner.
yeah.
I am a planner.
Yes.
I'm an organizer. I am, whatever. I am that person.
What was that? What did you say you were? An
An organizer, a planner. What?
I'm just making fun of you.
Oh,
Well,
You
your,
said- I'm just picking on you.
well, your pantry anyway, okay?
I'm
It's
trying
well
to be.
organized,
Not right now. It's
yes.
kind of a mess trying to find
Yes.
the house up to move.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But I remember, like, whenever we first started going to Vegas for the PGR stuff, and you could log in and have a planner, and I do all the stuff, and that was like the first time that I admitted all the girls' trip or a trip in general, and I didn't have to do anything. I literally just showed up. I gave money, I paid, and everything was taken care of. And I actually did it. That's kind of, I've had this spoiled thing. So, like, we went, 6 or 7 years to PGR and all that kind of stuff in Vegas, and that was the only time in my entire adult life where I wasn't planning things and organizing. And I felt like I took advantage of that. As my Shayne, I said, I'm to write her a check. I'm gonna show up.
It's so funny. It's so funny because I feel like Dorcas is also like this. We just all said this. That Stephanie is also like that as well. So the first time that I did that, she was like, I thought I was gonna have a problem with it, but like it was awesome. And then you came along and you did the same thing, and I'm like, that's okay. I mean, it's fine if y'all get like a break and it.
I didn't want to think.
Yes,
I didn't want to
yeah.
think like, I wanted to show up and the reservations for, Mesa were already made and the reservations for this were already made and we already had a mapped out route where we're going to go for this thing and you just show up because that's what you do. You're a planner. And you love that.
And y'all allow me to still keep control.
I allow you to shine. Gotta let you shine,
works out
Shayne. I'm not
for
gonna stand it. I'm not gonna do.
If you try to hear it, I'll be like, sure, you can do it, but I'm going to need to see it ahead of time. Make sure.
Well, like there was one year we had laminated agendas that went in our purses, and we don't die by the agenda, but it's a nice little guide. And then I would take Shayne's agenda for our Vegas trips, and I would share them with other people. And they're like, "This is amazing!" Like, because Shayne's in. It's color coordinated between food is one color, casino was another color, events and entertainment were another color, and it's clothing. And you print it out, and I've got it, and this is what we're doing for 4 days in Vegas. And Shayne is awesome. So everybody needs a Shayne. If you don't have one, you should get one, but you can't have mine.
I was like, don't spray me out anymore. I don't have the time. Well, I really enjoyed this. I really just felt like that we all had like a FaceTime call and we just caught up.
Yeah, you do.
You did.
Yeah.
I was super like kind of worried, but yeah. We should do this more often with it. You don't even have you don't have to record it. So we just need to talk.
Yes.
Melissa on here, we can
Dude, we can have like for Sweeps Week, we could totally have an all stars. The Mojito all stars. You and Missy. We'll see who else comes in and sit around and stuff like that.
We'll do it.
We'll see who gets more views.
Yes.
And give an award.
There we go.
We'll have the Mother Awards. So it's going to be.
Very good.
It'll be like on Friends, the troll on a 2x4.
Yeah. Well, when you told me that I could bring my mom, I was like, that's an idea. That I mean, I would not have been offended, but first of all, she couldn't even see my phone on the stand.
Yeah. It's okay.
You know, you can find the podcast and listen to it.
No, somebody said something to her about, when you're texting, she's like, I've never sent a text or an email in my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's how
Yeah.
it is. So,
Yeah.
Oh, bless her heart. We love Sarah. We do. We love Sarah very, very much. She's good people.
I love her too. Because if I didn't,
Yeah.
we don't know where we would be. No, she honestly to wrap this up, she's gotten, I feel like she's getting better. We'll have our days. And maybe it's my day that we have where we'll get kind of in a little that. But I think she's realized that she needs me a lot more than I need her at this point. She needs to realize that it's gonna happen whether she wants it to or not. So we'll just move on down the road. So it's fine. I adore my mother. I love her. I had a great childhood. It's just we're going through a rough.
Yeah. And thank you so much for trusting us, and thank you for telling your story and for sharing it. The hope here is that we build a community of people that, through this medium, you'll meet other people who are dealing with the same thing, and that you can, we can grow. The point is just to kind of grow a community and touch the people we know and open that up for us. So thank you so much for sharing again today.
Yes.
And thank you guys for tuning in again. And we look forward to, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we look forward to hearing everybody. So thank you again. And please reach out on any social media at The Mother You Know, The Woman You Don't, on all your social media platforms. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
I'm going to give one last shout out, though, to the guys from American Swindle for our intro music. We appreciate you giving it. And for the record, the drummer from American Swindle is Mr. Don Rosecrans, which is Shayne's husband. So she is married to our drummer from American Swindle.
Yay!
And we appreciate
Also a rock star. So
yes, he is. Because got
she did marry a rock star.
Yes, she did marry a rock star. So go check them out on Spotify or whatever. The song is Medicate. Because sometimes she just. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.